Welcome to the TokaySQL Understanding Fields and How to Work in Them tutorial. My name is Sarah Payne, and I am the Tokay Training Specialist at Aquatic Informatics. In today's tutorial, we will take a look at some important features that will allow you to move around in the software a bit easier. These features include navigation tools, renaming a field, fields marked with an asterisk, grayed out fields, calendar fields, pick lists and how to build and edit them, the right-click menu, which includes field birth name, find, sort, filter, display stats, copy, cut, paste, group update, and I'll teach you how to undo a group update. We'll also cover the search button and filter button. Let's begin by taking a look at the TokaySQL main screen. We'll start with navigation tools. Green plus signs. You'll see these throughout the software, and depending on which one you click on, they allow the user to add a site, an address, a hazard, or a test. Red X's are also seen throughout the software, and again, depending on which one you click on, they allow the user to delete sites, addresses, hazards, and tests. This up arrow brings you to the first record in your database or filtered group. This left arrow takes you to the record just before the record you're sitting on. This right arrow takes you to the record just after the one you're sitting on. The down arrow takes you to the last record in your database or filtered group. And you can think of these green arrows as back and forward buttons on your internet browser. The left arrow goes back to the previous site visited, and you can see by hovering over what site that is. And the right arrow goes forward to the next site visited. We'll talk a little bit about the search and filter button today, but the remaining ones will be discussed in a future tutorial. Now I'd like to show you how to rename a field. The easiest way to rename a field is by double-clicking on the field name. Simply type in what you'd like it to be, but you must press Enter to save your changes. Notice that some of my fields have an asterisk at the end. These are typically added during training, and they denote a field linked to the billing software. But not everyone has a data link, so there may not be asterisk fields in your software. As a reminder, you shouldn't change data in asterisk fields because when the link runs, it will override your changes. Think of it as the billing software owns asterisk fields. Sometimes users have a registered trademark at the end of certain fields, like you see here. If you have this, it was also likely added during training to denote a field that is required to feed a state report. This is somewhat rare, but I wanted to point it out in case it applies to you. Notice that some of my fields are completely grayed out. And if I try to change data in those fields, I can't. These fields have been disabled, meaning no data changes can be made to these fields. I'll review how you can do this in a moment. Let's take a look at calendar or date fields. Calendar or date fields will have this gray rectangle at the end. There are a few ways to enter data in date fields. You can type in a number for the month, a slash or a dash, a number for the date, a slash or a dash, and 2 numbers for the year. Or you can click on the little gray rectangle at the end of the field and a calendar will appear. From here, you can use the scroll carrots to choose the month and year and select a date, or you can click on the month and a drop-down selection menu will appear. Then click on the year and use the up and down arrows to make a selection. The next thing I'd like to show you are pick lists. A pick list is a user-created pop-up list of predetermined data options within a specific field. When created, it appears as a brown box at the end of a field, like here in the category field. Let's rename this user-defined field at the hazard level and add a pick list. To add a pick list, select Setup along the top left of the screen, then choose Field Names. This screen displays a list of all the field names divided into different data tables. In order for us to add a pick list to the user-defined field we just renamed Review, we go to the Hazards table and search for either UDH3 or Review. You can also scroll down to find the field you'd like. Here's the field, UDH3, that we named Review. From here, we would select Pick List. Let me show you what else you can do from this screen while we're here. You saw how the filter field allows you to search in the table you're sitting on. By pressing the name or column heading, you can reorder data by the value or count in that column. The pick list checkbox will obviously add a pick list like we're about to do. The default value puts a default value in that field every time a new record is created. This can be useful for fields like the state or zip code. The disable checkbox will disable users from making changes to this field, and the fields will appear grayed out on the main screen like I previously pointed out. A good instance to use this feature would be for fields linked to the billing software. The require checkbox will require that data be entered in this field. This order column allows you to order the fields you'd like to appear toward the top of lists, such as merge fields and reports. I'll point out an instance later in this tutorial when this feature would come in handy. Before we save, I want to point out that some changes won't take effect until you restart the application. Let's save. Now you can see this little brown box has appeared at the end of the review field. To edit the pick list we just added, we would go to that field, click on the little brown box, and press Edit. From here, you can build and edit your pick list by typing in the value here. And you can also select a line and delete it. You can choose to use the codes if you'd like. It's not necessary. What will matter is if you select Use Value or Use Code. I've chosen to use value, which means when I close this pick list and put data in the field, the entire value will appear on the main screen. If you only want the code to appear, you can select Use Code. From here, I'm going to save my pick list and close. Now I can type in data here, and the software will predict from the pick list what the rest of the word will be in that field. Notice how the pick list is alphabetized now. You can type in whatever order you'd like, and the pick list will automatically alphabetize the values you add. Now let's take a look at an important and very useful TokaySQL feature, the right-click menu. When you right-click in almost any field in TokaySQL, this menu appears. Let's take a look at the right-click menu one item at a time. The first item on the right-click menu is the field birth name. This displays the original name of the field and in parentheses, the total amount of characters this field will hold. Find. By pressing Find, this menu appears, and it's a quick way to find data within a field you're in. Let's try searching for serial number 1998641. Do you see how the database narrowed down my search? And now if I click Find, it brings me to this record. Next is Sort. This will resort your records by the data in the field you're sorting in. I found the most logical way to sort is in the address field by street name and number, and this is the default setting. And you can see the sorting of your records displayed at the bottom of the data tree. So currently, our records are sorted alphabetically by street name. But if I wanted to sort by company name, I could right-click in the company field, select sort, and again, if you look at the bottom of the data tree, it shows that our records are organized alphabetically by company. I'm going to set it back to the default setting by going to the address field, right-clicking, and sort. The next item in the right-click menu is filter. Keep in mind that there's more than one way to filter, but I do believe this is the quickest. When we click on filter, this quick filter menu appears. Here you can see what data field we are set to filter in, which is the category in the hazards area. Then we have these radial buttons allowing us to choose how we want to filter. Starts with equal, not equal, empty, not empty, less than, greater than, contains, does not contain, and between, which is great for a date range filter. This peach box in the search field will open up a field stats screen. The field stats screen displays all the data that's in the field across all of your records. It's important to note that as soon as you see 100 records in this blue area, you should change the radial button from Show Top 100 to Show All Values. Because TokaySQL only brings in 100 records at a time, you're only seeing the first 100 until you select the Show All Values option. Here is the value of the data and the count of the data in that field. If you want to reorder these, you can click on the column heading and it will alphabetize or reverse alphabetize. And the same with the counts. Drawing our eyes to the bottom of the screen, I want to point out that you can export data in this field to an Excel spreadsheet by pressing this Excel icon. And this is just a reminder that the data being displayed is displaying data for the current data set only. We can choose a data point to filter on from this menu. For example, here, and then I'd press select. And now if I'd set a filter from here, it would contain nothing. Or you can type in whatever data you'd like here. So I can do contains res for residential or starts with res. And then to set a filter for this, I would simply click set filter. And you can also clear filter from here or cancel. Let's set a filter. I'd like to point out some things that indicate I have a filter set. First off, there's a red filter on marker that appears at either the site hazard or test level, depending on what your filter is set on. And if you take a look at the very bottom left of the screen, you'll see this little filter icon, followed by the description of the filter you set. So here, our category contains RES. And you'll also notice that the number of sites at the bottom of the data tree has changed. It no longer displays the total number of sites, but rather the number of sites within the set filter. The easiest way to release a filter is by right-clicking on this filter button at the top of the main screen. Watch as all my filter indicators disappear. Next up on the right-click menu is Display Stats. This is the same field stat screen that appeared when we clicked the peach box in the filter menu earlier. From here, you can also set a filter. You would just select the item you'd like to filter on and press Set Filter. And again, to release the filter, you would right-click on the filter button at the top of the screen. Also from the right-click menu, you can copy, cut, paste, and do a group update. Group updates allow the user to change data in a field for multiple records at the same time. You'll likely want a filter set before doing a group update. Let's go to Test Due Date, right-click, and Display Stats. Notice that all of my test due dates are on the 15th of the month except for this one. So I'm going to select this test due date Notice there are 109 records in set filter. And I know I have a filter set because of this filter on that appeared. Also, this icon at the bottom tells me I have a filter set, and it describes the details of my filter. You recall before that when we set a filter, it said there were 109 records with a test due date of 1/1/21. But down here, it's showing there are 98 sites. Well, keep in mind that sites can have more than one hazard. And if I want to know how many hazards are included within these sites, I would click on the search button at the top of the screen, select hazards, and I see that within my 98 sites, there are actually 109 hazards that have a test due date of 1/1/21. We will go over this screen in more detail a little later in this tutorial. Back to our group updating. So let's change this date to 1/15/21. In order to do a group update, I would right-click in this field and select Group Update. And this Group Update menu appears. This is a great speed bump, suggesting you slow down and read through the changes you're about to make. Starting with this warning, it says this operation will replace the selected field with the value entered below for all the records matching the filter selected below. Please verify the information below before proceeding. So the field to be replaced is our test due. The value we're going to replace it with is 1/15/21. We want to select current filter, which it describes our current filter, the test due between 1/1 and 1/1 of 21. And then here it says the affected sites is 97 and the affected hazards is 108. It's not 109 because we already changed the date for one of the fields. And then finally you'd select update. Do we want to replace the field test due date in 108 hazards with the value of 1/15/21? Are you sure? Okay. It's processing our group update. Now let's release our filter by right-clicking on the filter button at the top of the screen. And if we go back to the test due field, right-click and display stats, you'll see that 109 records now have a test due date of 1/15/21. If you think you've made a mistake or you want to undo your group update, you would go to Data at the top left of the screen, then select Undo Group Update. A list of the group updates will appear. Select a group update operation to undo. So we select this one where we change the test due value and select Undo. Successfully processed 108 records, so we close. Now I'm going to right-click in the test due date field, display stats. You can see that all of the records we had previously updated are back with a test due date of 1/1/21. That's it for the right-click menu, but I also want to point out this filter button. Another way to filter is by using the filter button along the top of the screen. Up until this point, we've only been right-clicking on this filter button. Let's do a normal click or a left click. From here, you can build filters. You can remove layers and add layers and even save filters. Let's build a filter from this menu together. First, we'll press this field button and a menu with different data areas opens and you can choose the field you want to filter in. Let's start by choosing test due date from the hazard table. Do you recall earlier when we set up a pick list in the field name screen that I mentioned you can change the order of the way field names appeared in lists? Well, this is what I was referring to. So if, for example, you reference test due a lot, you could place it to be ordered toward the top of lists and you wouldn't have to scroll far to find it. For our first filter, test due will be empty. And if we want to add a second layer to this filter, we just press this More button. For the second layer of the filter, we'll also go to Hazards, and this time look for Device Status. And then we'll put equal, And how about active? And if we want to add a third layer to our filter, you'd press this More button again. For the third layer, let's go to Sites and then filter on zip code. How about zip code contains 42383? From here, we can save our filter and the Save Filter menu will appear. It's asking us to enter a name and a description for our new filter. I will name this filter Training Filter. I could describe the layers, but you'll see in a moment that the software automatically does that. So instead, I'm going to just type in Built by Sarah and press OK. And from here, you can press either the Load Filter button or the Saved Filters tab, and it will take us to the same place. Select a filter from the list below, then click Apply to load and apply the filter, or click Edit to modify. So let's select the filter we just created. And here you can see under Filter Information, the description that we added, as well as a description the software created of the filter elements. So our first element was at the hazard level, the test due is empty. Again, at the hazard level, device status was equal to active. And at the sites level, the zip code contains 42383. We can press Edit, and it will bring us back to the Custom Filters tab. To delete a layer of your filter, you simply press this red X, and you can delete your entire filter by going back to the Save Filter tab, selecting your filter and pressing Delete. From here, we can clear our filter, apply filter, or close. So let's press Apply Filter. And I know my filter is on because this filter on appeared. And if I look at the bottom left of my screen, I see the filter icon indicating that the test due is empty and device status equals active. If I left click on the filter button again, I can clear a filter from here. The last thing I wanted to show you today was this search button. You can identify your search areas such as sites, surveys, hazards, test, or mailing addresses. I'm going to click on hazards, and you can use carrots down here to scroll through 100 records at a time, or get you to the end of your records, or back to the beginning of your records. In this blue area, it shows the total number of records within the hazards. This number will match the number at the bottom. These column headings, you can click on them to rearrange the data below. And if there's not information appearing in this grid that you'd like to see, and this goes for any grid in TokaySQL, you can press the Customize Hazard list, open a data table, such as hazards, and add data fields, or remove them, and even rearrange the order. To search for a record within this hazards list, I first want to look at the field I'm searching in. This drop-down menu appears, and if the field you need to search in is not here, you could add it by going to Customize Hazards List. But let's say I want to search in company. I can start typing and watch as the site list narrows down my search. And additionally, the data tree reflects what I'm searching for. Then I can click on the item I was searching for. Notice it is dance artistry. I'll press close, and now I'm sitting on the dance artistry record. We covered a lot today. We went over the navigation tools, how to rename a field, fields with asterisks and fields that are grayed out, calendar fields, adding, editing pick lists, the right-click menu, which includes the field birth name, how to find, sort, filter, display stats, copy, cut, paste, do a group update, and undo a group update. We also went over the search button and the filter button. If you have questions, please reach out to Tokay Support by email, phone, or logging into our customer support portal. Thank you for your time. I hope you've learned something new.